Hi guys, today we are going to be learning about colored pencils. We're going to be doing some blending and we're going to talk about a couple of terms that we'll be using while we're working on this. Okay, so on your paper in your sketchbook, you are going to label the top of your paper as colored pencils, just like this. Okay, at the top of your paper. And the first thing that we're going to write down, we're going to have two notes, two definitions. Okay, and the first one is for analogous colors. Okay, so analogous colors are colors that are near each other on the color wheel. Okay, so colors that are near each other on the color wheel. Okay, I'm also going to put AKA, so also known as a color family. Okay, the next definition that we're going to have is saturated. Okay, saturated in art anyway has lots of different meanings and applications, but it has to do with the intensity and vividness of a color. Okay, so we are going to be practicing using analogous colors for our notes today, as well as our colored pencil sphere that we're doing. And then we're also going to be practicing saturating our colors so that they have a brighter, more intense look to them. Okay, so when we look at the color wheel here, okay, and this is just a basic color wheel. It doesn't have the tertiary colors on it, only has the primary and secondary. Okay, but when you are using this, I take that back, there's tertiary down here. But when you're using this, you want to look at the colors that are near each other on the color wheel. That's what makes them a color family. Okay, so for example, blue, green, and yellow would be considered tertiary colors, sorry, analogous colors because they are near each other on the color wheel. However, blue, red, and green would not. Okay, so colors that skip on the color wheel would not necessarily be analogous colors. They are not a color family. They have to be close together. Okay, so green, blue, and purple could be a color family. Okay, if you were using the tertiary colors, right, so that might be like yellow, orange, or red, orange. You could have like yellow, orange, red, orange, and regular orange, and that would be a color family. It would just be closer on the color wheel. Okay, so analogous colors are colors that are near each other on the color wheel. Okay, so we don't want to skip around. We don't want to say blue, red, and yellow, or blue, red, and orange. Okay, those don't really count as being near each other. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to choose an analogous color family. Okay, and I'm actually going to work with yellow, blue, and green. Okay, so I have my green, I've got my blue, and I've got my yellow here in just a second, right here. Okay, so yellow, green, and blue. And we want to make sure that we're going in color order. So I don't want the blue to be in the middle of these because that doesn't make any sense. Okay, it should go in color wheel order. Okay, so it should be yellow, green, and blue, or it can be blue, green, and yellow. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our colored pencils, and I'm going to start with I think I'm going to start with the yellow, and I'm actually going to scoot you guys a little bit closer. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my yellow here first. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to have kind of a line going across here. I'm not going to use my yellow on that line. I'm just making a gradation. Okay, just like we did with our pencil, but we're practicing between a couple of colors on our paper here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with yellow. Okay, and I'm just going to color using a medium to light pressure. Okay, now one of the things that you want to be careful about when you are blending colored pencils is they are made up of a different kind of formula than pencils are, right? So a different material. And these are very waxy, okay? And so the thing about wax is that if you color too hard, and especially yellow, yellow has a ton of wax in it, okay? If you color too hard too soon, you can't really blend the colors together because there's so much wax that the paper can't pick up really any more color. Okay, so I'm coloring in yellow and I'm going to go about halfway on my paper here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my green here and I'm going to overlap my yellow here a little bit and extend it a little further. Okay, and I'm just using a light pressure for this, just like so. So I have yellow, green, and then of course my blue here. So I'll color over this one next. And my line is definitely not straight. So if yours doesn't come out totally straight either, that's fine. Okay, so I have my blue here. Okay, now in order to get a good blend, I have to do some overlapping. Now that doesn't mean, a lot of times when people are shading with things, they put their colors right next to each other like this, or they might do it something along the lines of this, but we really want to make sure our colors are much more overlapped. Okay, so I'm going to start with my green first. Okay, I'm going to take this green and I'm going to extend it a little bit further into my yellow over here, not too far. I want to have pure yellow. Okay, but I'm just lightly coloring over this and I'm doing it light enough so that it kind of transitions into the yellow. And I'm going to bring my green a little bit further over here into the blue. Same thing. I don't want to go all the way over, but I do want to add a layer because that's what's going to blend it together and make it look more like a gradual change. Okay, which is what we've been practicing a lot so far. Okay, and then in the very center, I'm going to press down maybe medium so that I have more color here, just a little bit. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow. Okay, again, using a light pressure. I'm coloring over my yellow first. I'm going to bring up more so into my green over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my blue. So I'm coloring over my blue with a medium to light pressure. I'm going to bring my blue up here into my green a little bit. Okay, and then if you notice up close, I actually end up with 5 colors. So I have my yellow, my green, and my blue, but then I have kind of a yellow green here, and then more of a blue green here where there's overlapping, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 color hues here. Okay, and so this is an analogous color family. Now, in order to make this saturated, I want to build up those layers, just like we do with our graphite pencils, our regular pencils. Like I said, I don't want to get super crazy with it. I'm actually going to go back in with my green again. Okay, so I want to use a medium pressure this time. So when I build up my layers, I'm also building up the amount of pressure that I'm using because I want things to remain kind of a subtle change. Okay, if you color super, super hard on something, it doesn't have the depth that it would if you had layered slowly and surely. Okay, so I'm using a medium pressure and I'm just building this up because remember, if we use too much pressure, we'll have too much wax on our paper and then we won't have enough, we won't be able to blend our colors together. Okay, so I'm coloring more so in the middle here. Okay, and then again, I'm gonna lightly come out here, trying to kind of feather this out. Another thing when you're shading and you're trying to blend colors together, it's always good to make sure that they go kind of like this. So if you notice, I'm coloring to the side instead of up and down, because what will happen is you're essentially making lines up and down really close together, and you'll end up with colors like this. It's harder to blend them. Okay, it's easier to blend them if you can feather them in together like that. Okay, So I'm bringing this up here a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and go back over my green in the middle a little bit more, and I'm kind of using a medium hard pressure at this point, so it's nice and saturated. Okay, and I'm just building those up. Another thing to keep in mind too when you're shading with colored pencils is to not to press too hard, but to not necessarily have a super crazy sharp colored pencil. Okay, that doesn't necessarily help you with this. Having it dull is a little bit easier to blend, I found. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and blend up on my blue, adding some layers so it's nice and saturated over here. You guys can see that it's starting to come closer to what the color is on the pencil here. Okay, so it's getting closer, it's more saturated. And remember, when we say saturated, it has to do with how intense the color is, and it also has to do with how pure the color is. Okay, so if you add white or black to a color, it's less saturated because it's no longer just pure blue, it's darker blue that you've added black to, or it's lighter blue that you've added white to. Okay, so again, I'm using medium pressure, and I'm kind of feathering this here so I have a nice transition. Okay, and then I'm going to move over to my yellow here again and finish this out. Okay, so I'm pressing a little harder here now, bringing this through here and pressing harder over here so it's nice and saturated. Okay, so now I have my three original colors in color wheel order, and I have 5 colors total because of my overlapping areas. Okay, so you should have this one done. What you are going to do is you're going to choose 2 more sets of analogous colors, and you're going to do one across here and then one down here. Okay, I'm going to do that here in just a second. On these 2, you can choose which colors you use, but make sure that they are analogous. So it means they're a color family near each other on the color wheel, and then make sure that you're going in color wheel order. Okay, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to do my analogous colors really quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have finished my other 2 color sets. Again, you can choose whichever color families you want to use for your own. I do want to bring a little bit more red over here on this. Sorry, I'm being nitpicky, guys. Okay, so I chose to use yellow, orange, and red on this middle one here. And then this last one, I did a color family that's a little bit closer together. I used pink, red, and then this darker red color called mahogany, which kind of has some kind of brownish tones. It kind of looks like the brick color almost. Okay, and notice how these are all saturated, right? So that means they're very intense colors. They look close to what the outside of the colored pencil looks like. Okay, so they're nice and bright. They have a nice blend to them, and you can see the overlapping part, the nice transitions. Okay, so this is what you need to have for your grade on your colored pencil notes. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to use your Chromebook to take a picture. Okay, so use the forward facing feature on your Chromebook. You'll take a picture, you'll turn this in on Canvas to get your points for this, and then you can leave it in your sketchbook. See you later.